I want to start this video with a number. 500,000. That is the estimated number of cats and dogs that are euthanized in the United States every single year. Not because they are sick, not because they are dangerous, not because nobody wanted them, but simply because their owner died and no plan was in place for what would happen to them. 500,000. And when I tell you that number, I want you to sit with it for a moment, because behind every single one of those animals was a person who loved them, a person who fed them every morning, a person whose lap they slept on, a person who took hundreds of photos of them on their phone, a person who would be absolutely heartbroken to know what happened after they were gone. They just never made a plan. I am not here to make you feel guilty. I am not here to frighten you unnecessarily. I am here because this is the video that I believe every cat owner over the age of 50 needs to watch, and almost nobody is making it. There are thousands of videos about what to feed your cat, how to treat your cat's anxiety, how to introduce a new cat to your home. But the video about what happens to your cat after you die, the video that could save your cat's life, almost no one is talking about it. So today, we are going to talk about it. All of it. The emotional parts, the practical parts, the legal parts, and the parts that nobody wants to face, but that every responsible, loving cat owner needs to face eventually. And I want to begin with the piece that I think matters most, before we get into any planning or legal steps, because I want you to understand what your cat actually experiences when you are gone, because that understanding is what turns this from an abstract task into something deeply personal and urgent. What does your cat experience when you die? Research shows that cats grieve the loss of their companions in a way that follows a two-phase process. In the first phase, which is active, cats want to reunite with the person they have lost. They protest the absence and search for them. Increased activity, increased vocalizing, going from room to room, sniffing and looking, cat stir. Think about what that means in practice. You are gone. Your cat does not understand death the way humans do. They do not understand permanence. They just know that the person who has been the center of their world, the person who fed them, who sat with them, who spoke to them in that specific voice that only you belonged to, is no longer there. And so they look. They cry out. They check your bedroom. They check your chair. They go to the front door when they hear footsteps in the hallway. They wait. Since a companion may not understand death as something permanent, sometimes they will wait patiently, believing the deceased will return. VCA Animal Hospitals. That image, your cat sitting by the front door, waiting for you to come home, not understanding why you are not coming, is the image I want you to hold as we go through this video. Because your cat is depending on you to make sure that when that moment comes, someone who loves them is there to receive them. After a companion dies, initial behaviors like increased vocalizing and searching typically resolve within about 2 months. After roughly 6 months, cats become accustomed to the new situation and no longer show signs of grief. Cat stir. They do recover, they do adjust, but the quality of that recovery depends enormously on what happens in those first hours, days, and weeks after you are gone. And that, completely and entirely, depends on the plan you put in place while you are still here. The immediate problem nobody thinks about. Here is the first thing that most people never consider. When a person dies at home, whether it's sudden or expected, the focus of everyone around them is entirely and understandably on the human family. The funeral arrangements, the legal process, the notification of relatives, the overwhelming grief of the people left behind. In the chaos of those first hours and days, the cat waiting quietly in a back room does not register as an emergency to anyone who is responsible for that cat. So the first thing your plan needs to address is not the long-term future of your cat, it is the immediate, right now, first 24 hours question. Who knows your cat is in that house? Who has a key? Who will go there today and make sure your cat is fed, watered, held, and not left alone in a home that suddenly smells of absence? This is not a complicated thing to arrange, but it requires you to arrange it in advance, because once you are gone, nobody knows what they don't know. The shelter reality. What happens when there is no plan? Every year, between 5 and 7 million companion animals enter animal shelters due to the death of their owners. Of these, approximately 3 to 4 million are euthanized when adequate homes cannot be found for them, 60% of dogs and 70% of cats. National Cremation Society. 70% of cats. I want to make sure that number really lands. If a cat enters a shelter as the result of its owner's death, with no plan, no designated caregiver, no arrangements made, 7 out of 10 of those cats do not make it out alive. And here's why that rate is so high and why it is specifically so hard for cats. Senior cats, cats that are 8, 10, 12 years old, are almost impossible to rehome through shelters. The adoption numbers for senior cats are some of the lowest in the entire shelter system. Young families want kittens. People want cats they can bond with for many years. A 12-year-old cat, however beautiful and loving, simply does not move quickly through a shelter adoption queue. And a 12-year-old cat that is stressed, grieving, not eating, hiding in the corner of a cage, which is exactly what a cat who has just lost their owner looks like in a shelter environment, is even harder to place. There is something deeply, painfully unfair about a cat spending 12 years being the most loving, constant presence in someone's life, and then dying alone in a shelter because nobody made a plan. This does not have to happen to your cat. The emotional weight of this conversation and why most people avoid it. I want to acknowledge something before we move into the practical part of this video. This is not an easy topic to sit with. Thinking about your own death, making concrete plans for what happens after you are gone, requires a kind of courage that our culture does not always encourage. We prefer not to think about it. We tell ourselves we'll get to it eventually. We assume our family will figure it out. But if you are watching this video, I believe you are already someone who takes the responsibility of being a cat owner seriously. You have chosen to share your life with a creature who depends on you entirely, who cannot make their own arrangements, who cannot call someone for help, who will simply wait, loyally, quietly, completely for you to come back through the door. Making a plan is the last great act of love you can do for that animal. It's saying, I thought about you even when thinking about it was hard. I made sure you would be okay. That's what we're going to build together in this video. And by the time we are done, you will have everything you need to actually do it. Now we get practical. And I want to be very clear, this is not complicated. This does not require a law degree. This does not require a lot of money. What it requires is sitting down, making some decisions, writing some things down, and having some conversations. Most people can complete this process in an afternoon. Let us walk through it step by step. Step 1. Find your primary caregiver and choose wisely. The single most important decision you will make in this entire process is choosing who will take your cat if something happens to you. And I want to ask you to make this decision carefully, more carefully than most people do, because the instinct is often to name the family member you're closest to, or the person who seems most likely to say yes. But the right person for you is not necessarily the right person for your cat. Think about these questions as you consider your candidates. Do they actually like cats? This sounds obvious, but it matters enormously. A person who tolerates cats but does not truly connect with them is not going to provide your cat with the emotional care and attention that your cat is used to from you. Your cat has spent years being loved by you in a specific way. They need someone who will love them, not just feed them and keep them alive. Do they have the time? A retired couple with a calm home is a very different situation from a young family with 3 children, 2 jobs, and a dog. Both might be wonderful people who love you, only one of them might realistically be the right home for your senior cat. Do they have any allergies, other pets, or living situations that would make this difficult? An apartment that does not allow pets? A child who is severely allergic? A resident dog that has never been around cats? These are not deal breakers necessarily, but they need to be factored into the decision. Most importantly, have you asked them? Not hinted, not assumed. Have you sat down with this person and had a direct, specific conversation where they said, yes, I will take your cat if something happens to you, and I understand what that commitment means. Choosing a caretaker for your animal and a backup caretaker is the most important decision you will make in planning for your cat's care after you are gone. Think about how you want your pet to be provided for, and then think about who you know with the time, energy, and other resources necessary to care for your pet as you would. Second chance for pets. You also need a backup. Life is unpredictable. The person you name today may move abroad in 5 years. They may develop a health problem. They may, heartbreakingly, die before you do. Name a primary caregiver and name a backup caregiver, and make sure both of them know they are on the list and have agreed to it. Step 2. Give your caregiver everything they need to know. Once you have identified your caregiver, the next step is to create what I call a cat care document. And this is one of the most genuinely loving things you can do for both your cat and the person inheriting their care. Your cat has a whole world that nobody else fully knows. Their personality quirks, their fears, their preferences, what they love and what terrifies them, the specific way you call them for dinner, the spot on their back that makes them purr every time, the foods they cannot eat, the vet they go to, the medications they take, the hiding spots they retreat to when they're scared. None of this information lives anywhere except in your head. When you are gone, it is gone with you, unless you write it down. Your cat care document should include your cat's full name and any nicknames they respond to, their date of birth and approximate age, their medical history, past illnesses, surgeries, known conditions, medications, their vet's name, address and phone number, their microchip number if they have one, their vaccination records and when they're due for updates, their food, the exact brand and variety, how much, how often, their litter preferences, the type of litter, how often it needs cleaning, where the box is located, their personality. Are they shy with strangers? Do they hide when scared? Are they affectionate? Do they have any fears, loud noises, other cats, strangers? Their daily routine, when they eat, when they sleep, where they like to be, what playtime looks like, and finally, anything unusual that a new caregiver would need to know to keep this cat comfortable and safe. Print this document. Keep it somewhere accessible, with your will, with your other important papers. Give a copy to your designated caregiver. Make sure someone who will be present when you die knows where to find it. That document is your cat's passport to a good life after you. You also need a backup. Life is unpredictable. The person you name today may move abroad in 5 years. They may develop a health problem. They may, heartbreakingly, die before you do. Name a primary caregiver and name a backup caregiver, and make sure both of them know they are on the list and have agreed to it. Step 2. Give your caregiver everything they need to know. Once you have identified your caregiver, the next step is to create what I call a cat care document. And this is one of the most genuinely loving things you can do for both your cat and the person inheriting their care. Your cat has a whole world that nobody else fully knows. Their personality quirks, their fears, their preferences, what they love and what terrifies them, the specific way you call them for dinner, the spot on their back that makes them purr every time, the foods they cannot eat, the vet they go to, the medications they take, the hiding spots they retreat to when they're scared. None of this information lives anywhere except in your head. When you are gone, it is gone with you, unless you write it down.
Your cat care document should include your cat's full name and any nicknames they respond to, their date of birth and approximate age, their medical history, past illnesses, surgeries, known conditions, medications, their vet's name, address and phone number, their microchip number if they have one, their vaccination records, and when they're due for updates, their food, the exact brand and variety, how much, how often, their litter preferences, the type of litter, how often it needs cleaning, where the box is located, their personality. Are they shy with strangers? Do they hide when scared? Are they affectionate? Do they have any fears, loud noises, other cats, strangers? Their daily routine, when they eat, when they sleep, where they like to be, what playtime looks like, and finally, anything unusual that a new caregiver would need to know to keep this cat comfortable and safe. Print this document. Keep it somewhere accessible, with your will, with your other important papers. Give a copy to your designated caregiver. Make sure someone who will be present when you die knows where to find it. That document is your cat's passport to a good life after you. Step 3. The legal reality. What happens without a plan? Here is something that surprises almost everyone. Under U.S. law, your cat is considered property. Not a family member, not a dependent, property, which means that if you die without a will, what lawyers call dying intestate, your cat is distributed along with your furniture and your car and your savings according to state law formulas that have nothing to do with who loves your cat or who your cat knows. If you die intestate, you have no control to predetermine which heir will inherit your dog or cat, or the disposition of your pet if the heirs refuse acceptance. CPT training. The heir who legally inherits your cat may not want your cat. They are under no obligation to keep your cat. They can do with that property, and yes, the law calls your beloved companion property, whatever they choose, including surrendering them to a shelter. This is why your wishes need to be formalized, not just spoken out loud, not just assumed, written down in a legal document. The simplest option is to include your cat in your will. Name your designated caregiver as the person who will receive your cat. Leave a monetary bequest alongside your cat, a specified amount of money designated for your cat's ongoing care. You cannot leave money directly to a pet in your will. Instead, you leave the animal to the person you want to care for it, along with instructions and, ideally, a bequest to cover costs. Kiplinger. How much should you leave? Think about your cat's age, current health, and likely remaining lifespan. The average pet owner spends about $1,700 a year on dogs and cats. If your cat is 2, you might leave a lot more than if your cat is 15. Kiplinger. A reasonable starting point is to calculate 2 to 3 years of estimated care costs and set that aside. However, there is an important limitation to leaving a cat in a simple will, and most people don't know this. The person named in your will to receive your cat gets both the cat and the money outright, but they are under no legal obligation to use that money for your cat's care. The new owner could give your pet away and use the money for a vacation or new car without consequences. NOLO. If you want stronger legal protection, if you want genuine accountability, the answer is a pet trust. Pet trusts are legal arrangements that go further than a simple will bequest. Pet trusts create a legal obligation to care for your pet. Pet trusts provide more assurances that your pet will be cared for. They allow you to name the caregiver, allocate funds for care, specify how the money should be spent, and identify a person or organization to receive any remaining funds when your pet dies. NOLO. In a pet trust, you name 2 separate people. The caregiver.
We have covered the practical. We have covered the legal. Now I want to spend the final part of this video on something that I think matters just as much, maybe more, than any will or trust or legal document. I want to talk about what your cat actually needs to survive and recover when you were gone. Because the plan you put in place is not just about logistics, it is about love. And the person who inherits your cat needs to understand what that love looks like from the inside of your cat's experience. understanding what your cat loses when they lose you. Like mothers to infants, owners give their cats a sense of comfort, security, and certainty. They create a routine that a cat, as a dependent, can rely on to stay at ease and make the day predictable. Cats lose that familiarity when the owner dies, causing them to grieve. Catster. When you die, your cat does not just lose you as a person, they lose their entire framework of reality. They lose the sound of your voice in the morning. They lose the smell of you on the furniture. They lose the predictability of being fed at the same time every day in the same bowl in the same place. They lose the certainty that the person who makes them feel safe will walk through that door. Research found that the more positive the relationship between the cat and the person they lost, the more grief-like behavior they showed. This suggests they are forming real bonds and relationships and actually responding to the loss in an emotional way. NPR. This means that the cats who loved their owners the most, the ones who were closest, the ones who slept on the bed, the ones who ran to greet you at the door, are the ones who will grieve the hardest. The deepest love creates the deepest grief, and your cat needs a caregiver who understands that and who will be patient with the process. The 3 phases of a cat's grief, what your caregiver must know. If a cat reacts to the loss, there are often 3 common stages of grief. The first phase is quite short. Your cat will be more vocal, pacing and searching the house, attempting to find the missing person, looking out of windows, sniffing as they go from room to room. International cat care. This first phase can be alarming for a new caregiver who does not understand what they are witnessing. The cat is crying out, restless, unable to settle. They may not eat, they may not sleep. A caregiver who does not know this is normal grief behavior may panic and interpret it as illness. They need to be told, this is what grief looks like. This is your cat looking for me. Be with them. Be patient. Do not force them to calm down or stop searching. Just be a warm, safe, consistent presence while they process. The second phase is quieter and, in some ways, more worrying to witness. The cat becomes withdrawn, sleeping more, eating less, losing interest in play, hiding more. They may become depressed and listless. They may have a decreased appetite and decline to play. They may sleep more than usual and move more slowly, sulking around. VCA animal hospitals. This phase passes. Encouragingly, in studies of households that lost a pet, all surviving pets that lost a companion were behaving normally within 6 months. Hill's Pet Nutrition. 6 months is a long time to ask someone to be patient and compassionate, but that is what your cat needs, and the person you choose needs to be able to give it. What helps? The practical comfort guide. There are specific things that help a grieving cat through this process. Your caregiver needs to know these. Put them in your cat care document. Maintain the routine as much as possible. Feed at the same times, keep the furniture in the same places, use the same type of litter in the same litter box. The familiarity of routine is one of the most powerful tools for helping a grieving cat feel safe. Every element of the environment that stays the same is one less thing they have lost. If possible, do not be too quick to remove the deceased owner's favorite bedding or clothing. The gradually fading scent confirms that the individual is no longer around, and it gives the cat a way to process the absence gradually rather than suddenly. International cat care. This is something that most people would naturally clear away out of grief, out of a desire to move forward, out of practicality. But if you can leave your caregiver a piece of worn clothing that smells of you, kept in a bag until after your death, then placed near your cat's sleeping area, that scent can be a genuine comfort to your cat in those first weeks. Include this instruction in your cat care document. Fellaway diffusers, the synthetic pheromone products that mimic a cat's natural calming signals, are a genuinely helpful tool during a transition period. Your caregiver should plug them in throughout the new home environment. They don't work instantly, but consistently over weeks, they help reduce anxiety. Give the cat space to search. Do not confine them or prevent them from moving through the house looking for you. Let them complete their search. Let them sit in your chair, lie on your bed, smell your belongings. These behaviors are part of how cats process loss. Interfering with them prolongs the grief. While it can feel natural to want to comfort a grieving cat by holding them or pursuing physical contact, this may cause further stress if the attention is unusual or unwanted. Instead, make yourself available to the cat so they can initiate contact if that is what they want. International Cat Care. This is counterintuitive for a loving new caregiver. Their instinct will be to hold the cat, to comfort them physically, to show them love through touch. But a grieving cat who is already overwhelmed by change needs to feel in control of their own interactions. Let the cat come to you. The first time they choose to climb into your lap, even if it takes weeks, that is the beginning of trust. What about moving the cat to a new home? If your cat will be moving from your home to your caregiver's home, the transition needs to be managed carefully. A sudden change of environment on top of the loss of their person is a double trauma, and it needs to be handled with enormous gentleness. Ideally, your designated caregiver should have spent time at your home before anything happens, so that your cat already knows their scent and has positive associations with their presence. This is another reason why the planning conversation matters. If your caregiver has visited your home and interacted with your cat over months or years, played with them, fed them treats, sat with them, the transition will be significantly less traumatic. When the cat is moved, take as much from their existing environment as possible: their bed, their blankets, their favorite toys, their scratching post, their food and water bowls, their type of litter. Every familiar smell and texture that travels with them is a small anchor of safety in a new and unfamiliar world. Set up a single room in the new home, quiet, with the door closed, and with all their belongings, and let the cat settle in that room first before exploring the whole house. This is the same principle used when introducing a cat to any new environment. It allows them to establish a safe base before taking on the full scope of the unknown. The shelter is the last resort, not the first. I want to come back to the numbers one more time, because the 500,000 cats who are euthanized when their owners die, those aren't all cats who had no one who loved them. Many of them belonged to people who loved them deeply, but simply did not think far enough ahead. The family members who did not know what to do called the shelter. The executor who was overwhelmed with paperwork and grief and logistics called the shelter. The neighbor who found the cat alone in the apartment called the shelter. Not out of cruelty, out of not knowing what else to do. Your plan is the thing that stands between your cat and that shelter. Not a hope, not an assumption, a written, formalized, communicated plan with real people who have made real commitments. A message to every single cat owner watching this. You chose this animal. You opened your home. You have spent years, maybe many years, being the one constant in a small creature's life. Every meal they have eaten was because of you. Every warm night they slept safely was because of you. The trust in their eyes when they look at you, that came from you. What you are doing right now, watching this video, thinking about these things, that's already an act of love. Most people don't do this. Most people avoid it. You are here because you care enough to face the hard thing. Now take the next step. Just one conversation, just one document, just one piece of your will updated with a few lines about your cat. It's not a big thing to do, but for your cat, it's everything. They were waiting for you right now, probably in another room, sleeping on something you own, dreaming about something cats dream about, completely trusting that the world they know is stable and safe and permanent. Make sure it is, for them, because they would do anything for you. They already do, every single day. Take care of them, and I'll see you in the next video.